He's turning Clint Bowyer into the wall, collecting Joey Logano. Caution flag is out.
So Bowyer and Gordon wrecked, but that was nothing compared to what happened just moments later.
The crews are in it. And somewhere in the middle of that is Jeff Gordon.
That's stupid.
So an incredible scene there in Phoenix, something we really haven't seen before. Jeff Gordon, Clint Bowyer, the crews getting involved, attacking Gordon right after he got out of his car.
I've never seen anything like that before in NASCAR. Now, we've got Ricky Craven here in studio, and Ricky's been around the sport a whole heck of a lot longer than I have. Ricky, what's your immediate reaction to that?
It goes back a few weeks. You know, on the surface, people will say, well, there was a bump in turn 3. Jeff Gordon ends up on the wall. Jeff waits. He retaliates. But it goes back to Martinsville about a month ago. Jeff Gordon had made contact late with Clint Bowyer, got roughed up. He didn't say anything after. He didn't really speak about it. But here's the thing about drivers. Expect it when you least expect it. Jeff Gordon clearly had enough, took matters into his own hands. And then you see the crews get involved. Now, this is where it's crazy because I can recognize several of these crew members, great guys, but emotions take over. I see NASCAR officials. I see executives at Hendrick Motorsports. This is nuts. This is crazy. Everybody's on board here.
Ricky, we saw Clint Bowyer physically running from his car around pit road all the way on over to the trailer that Jeff Gordon was in. I mean, have you ever seen anything quite like that?
Yes, I have. But I've never been involved in anything quite like that. But here's the bottom line. It's late in the season. Everybody's tired. Everybody's stretched it out. The tank is empty. And in this case, Clint Bowyer was battling for a championship. Clint Bowyer just had his championship chances eliminated. It was an outside chance. It was going to require a Hail Mary when they go to Miami, but he had a chance. Jeff Gordon took care of that.
Back to the initial wreck, not when Gordon took out Bowyer the second time, but when Bowyer took out Gordon. Was he doing that on purpose?
I think that he, not on purpose, but a little bit careless. Jeff Gordon, as a result, got into the wall. Jeff Gordon was running in the top 5, top 10 all day. And trust me, drivers have a limit. And there is an etiquette that applies to racing. But there are times where they drop the gloves, like hockey, and say, look, enough's enough. I'm not waiting till next week. I'm going to take care of this in Phoenix. I'm going to finish this before we leave town. Jeff Gordon's a 4-time champ. I mean, this isn't a guy that loses control of his emotions. This is a guy that's calculated. He's late in his years, but still competitive. And he basically said, I've had enough. We can wait for the interview, but listen, I can interpret it. Jeff Gordon will get in front of the camera and say, I had enough. And he took matters into his own hands. And what you saw as a result of the retaliation, I think, is going to be a pretty hefty fine. You know, the fans are probably going to love this. This is pure emotion. Crazy.
Ricky, we've seen drivers go after drivers before, but in terms of a crew all ganging up on one driver from an opposing team, unprecedented, no?
Yeah, I've not seen anything quite like that. So Jeff Gordon was 10 steps from his transporter. That might as well have been 10 miles. You know, because the crews overreacted, and some of them will probably regret this. Some of them will be paying for it. But it was very difficult to see in the chaos exactly where Jeff Gordon was in that big pile. But probably the biggest mistake Jeff made was taking his helmet off before he got inside the transporter. I mean, this is a situation where a team has overachieved all year, meaning Clint Bowyer's team, and they're within striking distance, or at least have a chance of a championship going into Miami next week. And they saw it disappear in one turn. Do I blame Jeff Gordon? Listen, I can't weigh in on this because, you know, every driver has to make a decision that they have to live with. At this point, Jeff Gordon said, I've had enough. That's all there is to this. Jeff Gordon said, that's enough, Clint. This is 2 or 3 times that you've affected my chances at winning a race or the outcome of the race. and he retaliated. And, you know, some fans say that there's not enough of this. Bottom line with this situation, it crossed the line when the fans got involved. It's a good point you make. I'm going to be interested to see how NASCAR handles that.
Very, very visual. I'm sure that the sport maybe on some level does enjoy that for the rivalry aspect of it. But again, it is a very, very visual thing, which I would think that many executives are not necessarily in favor of. And Ricky, somewhat lost in this is the fact that the two-car, Brad Keselowski, who now for all intents and purposes controls his destiny, the two-car was able to avoid this wreck. And what does that mean, big picture, for Brad Keselowski?
Well, first off, when I say the fans, some of the fans in this sport would like to see more of that emotion. I'm talking driver to driver, to be clear. Okay. Now, as it relates to Brad Keselowski, yeah, he could have gotten swept into this, and then we'd have a whole different discussion. But the bottom line is, if you look at it big picture, those are 3 cars that were in front of Brad Keselowski in the closing laps. That's 3 points that swayed toward Brad Keselowski. Right? So Jimmy Johnson, having had difficulties today with a blown right front tire, he's trying to minimize the damage. Those three spots could be very significant.